How you do something is how you do everything. Just sit with that for a second. How you do something is how you do everything. I want to share a lesson with you about how my own shortcomings have led to a lesson that I'm sharing with clients, with family, and with you. How you do something is how you do everything is such a great line. And it speaks to the discipline, the consistency, and our ability to show up in the way that we talk about or that we perceive that we show up. There's a couple of reasons I'm sharing this lesson with you. The first one is that me as a younger human, a younger coach, thought that I had to display this perfect thing, this pedestal where I was doing everything right all the time and I couldn't share my shortcomings. I couldn't share the real lessons. And that was detrimental to myself. It was detrimental to my mental space, and it was detrimental to my clients' journeys, and it was detrimental to my channels, because with displaying that means all your content's got to be perfect. You got to go through this process of making everything seem awesome, and sometimes life isn't like that. Sometimes life is just get by. Sometimes life is just do your best. And so that's number one lesson. And number two is that I was inadvertently called out today in something, and I'm going to share that lesson with you. So today I'm at the gym that I subcontract at. It's a Good Life gym here in Brisbane in Queensland. It's where I do my face-to-face coaching sessions when I'm not doing podcasting and online coaching. I pulled out my shirt and shorts, my training gear, to get out of the clothes that I was wearing while I was doing my coaching before I trained. And someone saw me pull my t-shirt and shorts and socks that were folded in my bag, and I put it out on the bench. And she said to me, "They're folded really neatly." And I said two things. Number one, thanks so much, appreciate it. Number two, how you do something is how you do everything. And I thought to myself, wow. So like, I inadvertently called myself out because of a comment someone made about something that I was doing. And my point here is this. I haven't done a YouTube video or podcast in a little while. Late last year, I was using all these excuses, right? I'm busy. The business is growing. I've got all these things to do. But the reality is, my standards dropped. My standards on what I said I would do, on what I was talking about doing, they dropped. And that's the lesson I want to share with you today, is that sometimes we get stuck in this rut, in this circle, in this cycle, so to speak, like a hamster on a wheel. And you get stuck. And don't get me wrong, I'm still doing a lot of stuff in my business and in my life, okay? But with across the board, there's all these, call them like shipping containers on a ship, right? If I was a ship and there was all these shipping containers, that's the way that I describe with clients about compartmentalizing stuff. So you're a ship, you've got all these containers to work out how to balance onto the ship, so to speak. When you let one of them get too full, the boat starts to rock and it becomes unbalanced. And that's exactly what's happened to me. It was only 2 weeks ago, someone said to me, "Hey, how's the podcast going?" And I said, yeah, it's pretty good. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking I haven't done much with it in the last little bit. But the most awesome thing is that people have still been listening to the older episodes. People have still been tuning in and subscribing and saying to me when they see me, "Hey, that last episode you did was great," etc. So I know that there's value being added, right? But the really interesting lesson that I want to share with you and I want you to take away into your world and your life is with your fitness, with your mindset, with your discipline, with your habits, and how you show up, is take this lesson that I've now learned again and embed it into your life. If you haven't read this book by Maxwell Maltz called Psycho-Cybernetics, it's a great read. In it, he talks about a thing called success mechanisms. It's a really cool thing to think about, success mechanisms, because essentially what it is mental picturing, rehearsal, practicing, and getting good at something, right? And so you can apply that mentally, where you're sitting down, you're thinking about things, you're going through this process of basically getting good at something by imagination, and in turn getting better at it in person. But with training, nutrition, your mindset, your discipline, your habits, your day-to-day behaviors, how you show up, we can do that practically as well, and in turn build our self-confidence and improve the way that we're living. I want to read you something very short out of this book. And for reference if you want to go back to it. It's on page 46 of Psycho-Cybernetics in the chapter Imagination, the first key to your success mechanism. This automatic creative mechanism within you can operate only in one way. It must have a target to shoot at. As Alex Morrison said, you must first clearly see a thing in your mind before you can do it. When you do see a thing clearly in your mind, the creative success mechanism within you takes over and does the job much better than you could do it by conscious effort or willpower. That's a pretty hard-hitting paragraph. Great book. Highly suggest you read it if you're looking at improving your capacity, understanding of yourself, and the way that you operate internally and externally. Now, back to what I was saying. So why am I sharing my shortcomings with you? I want you to take the lesson. I want you to understand that just because you're failing at something this week doesn't mean next week has to be the same. Just because last month you didn't have great progress doesn't mean this month has to remain the same. And just because last year or the last 10 years you lacked progression in a certain area of your life, it doesn't mean that that has to be the future. So back to what I was talking about before with success mechanisms. I've got enough of a success mechanism with training, nutrition, sleep, saunas, walking, recovery, just looking after myself, that those things are just so consistent, they're so dialed, and most of the time aren't a massive effort, okay? Unless I had a huge week, and then I'll still do them, but they'll feel like a bit more of an effort. But with these sorts of things, they can be an effort. So I haven't got that dialed in yet. And that's my lesson for you if you're watching or listening to this. There's space for me to get better at it. There's capacity that I can lean into. There's time management strategies around making these things and the development of these assets that go out online a more practical, functional, more consistent space in my business and in my life. And so I want you to take that lesson from me that I've learned about this and apply it to an area that you think is necessary for your world. You see, what I didn't want to happen, now that I've acknowledged this, is that that lack of discipline and that lack of development in that area, that can easily slip into other areas of my life. It can definitely easily slip. Because as soon as you start to lower your standards in one area, you lower them in the other. Like if you're happy to do that, you will become happy to do it in other areas. And so I don't want that in other areas of my business. I don't want that in my coaching. I don't want it in my marriage. I don't want it in my personal standards. I don't want it in my relationships with my family, with my friends. And so I'm calling it out. I'm getting accountable, right? If you don't have a YouTube channel or a podcast to put it on and be accountable with, you can put it up on, you can talk to friends about it. You can talk to family about it, colleagues, your partner, share it with someone. So how can we apply this lesson and take it into fitness, nutrition, mindset, and all the things that I coach on? Great question. Thanks for asking. You can take the lesson of when you don't have clear systems, structure, and a way of generating an outcome, like a podcast or a YouTube video, etc., or a training plan, a physical result, a mental result, developing your nutrition habits, etc. When you don't have good systems and structure, it's easy to lower the standards. It's easy to fall off. It's easy to not do the things, all right? So whilst my next steps are getting consistent with this, creating a success mechanism with this, and making sure that I'm doing it and not just doing it out of, like we said before, out of willpower and making it hard, but systemizing it, making it easier, outsourcing help where I can, things like that. That is where the growth lies. And so for you with your fitness, nutrition, your mindset, probably the reason that you're dialing into this channel and listening to this and me talk, your next steps are to find the gap, find the thing that's missing. What's hard for you? What do you think is hard? Have those conversations. Find an accountability partner. Find a way to make it an easier, stronger, better process for you to do daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, because if you can't see yourself doing the thing in 12 months, you're not going to do it next week. All right? You're going to will your way through it and it's going to fall away. Happens all the time. So let's get back to how you can help with your next steps. if you know your next steps, go and do them. All right, go and do them. Secondly, in the show notes below, there's a few things. If you need to identify the gaps that you have with your fitness, your performance, your mindset, there's a link to a video which is on my channel, which is called the CXO Fitness and Performance Audit, where you can identify the gaps that you have and have some action steps towards it. Okay, go and do that. Number one. If you want to book a call with me, there's a 15-minute complimentary call. If you'd like to have a chat about your next steps after watching that video, or number two, what coaching looks like, and if you'd like to get some help with it, we can have that conversation too. Okay, it's a complimentary call. Don't bring your credit card. We can just have a chat. If you got value out of this video, send it to a friend, press the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good day. Catch ya.